now tuned in to Dope Dynamics on the Hold Up TV network every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Yo, it's your boy DJ Sensi Star, only on the Hold Up TV network. This is Dope Dynamics on another Wednesday night. We about to get into some real live conversation, but before we do that, let me spit a little something like, yo, it's your boy Sensi Star, and we on the Hold Up TV network where the conversations matter, booty popping, shaking our net worth, grinding Monday through Friday, don't matter, we lock it down. I guess we can agree on that when the Vinky come around. Shout out to the man, it's Captain of Role Planning, family of mine, school, video games, movies, and antics. We got a support team too, going by the adults from crew. If you hear them rules hollering, you already know what to do. Here's my announcement, it Izzy, rapping, singing, get trippy, but don't get it twisted. Fresh shots without missing. That's an upset radio tree and Leilani on a mission. Guest speakers and letters, you really shouldn't miss it. Kathy D, Love and Carmen, 3 Power Love Latinas, about to blow up in the glue that keeps the team up. Then my man DT Dub, the money maker, gameplay commentator. I love my team of content creators. Yeah, y'all know what it is. DJ Sensi Star, Da Vinky, Princess Bex, Steve, real name, no gimmicks, only on the Hold Up TV network. You know we do this dope dynamic things every Wednesday night. If you don't like what we got to say, politely see yourself out the motherfucking door. So you came for some dope dynamics, well, you in the right place. Our topic and controversy, what we might face, having fun and politicking, no matter what we might say. It's opinions on the table and there ain't no right way. A collection of individuals who could be night and day. 4 members at the table going through it the harder way and won't be pacified just cause Juneteenth is a holiday. We gon' hit you with this MJ, but the fade'll never fall away. The feminists are up and best believe they watching. She got the knowledge and dish out more than Stockton. Real name, no gimmicks, and can't nobody stop it. The Hold Up TV network on and we locked in. Princess Bex, if you nasty, yeah, you should watch it. Always keep the crown on, even when she talk shit. I'm the beast slayer, so you better cop quick. You mic for me now, but I'm a DJ till I'm top. You heard what it is. We are now just moments away from Dope Dynamics, exclusively on the Hold Up TV network. You are now listening to DJ Sensi Star on the Hold Up TV network.
Yo, what is going on? It's Wednesday. The battle arena is open. I hope you're all ready for another great episode of Dope Dynamics. DJ Sensi Star, Da Vinky of the Feminists are up, Princess Bex if you're nasty, and I am your man Steve, real name, no gimmicks, fresh cut, goatee on deck, ready to go. Sensi Star, how the hell are you, my brother?
Oh, I am doing great today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Unfortunately, I just got out the shower, so I kind of look like I got the Lionel Richie thing going on right now, but I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Shout out Fat Mantis, Rogue Radio 10 in the building early. We are chilling. Yes, that is the DJ Sensi Star logo. Sensi, you cameraless tonight, man? What's going on here?
No, I'm about to hop on. My bad, brother. I didn't even.
Like we got to bring our faces to the people. Can't be.
He just wanted us to see the logo first.
Damn, ugly as hell on the other side of this camera. Okay,
so
yeah, I'm in here.
Bex is on her way. She'll be here momentarily. I'm glad that everyone's here. I had a very spirited episode last week, so I just wanted to lay out some stuff for anyone, right? This is a platform in which you are allowed to have different views. The three of us don't share the same views, and we have found a way to communicate with each other and remain friends without any vitriol or any of that stuff. And we don't shy away from debate. So if you disagree with anything that's being set up on the panel, you are allowed to do so. But just know this, when I drop that link into the chat, you have every right to click on it. We will let you come up, speak your point of view, as long as it's, we'll keep it respectful. You know what I'm saying? Every once in a while, the B word gets thrown out up here, things get heated, but I ain't changing nothing, man. And I will say this, right? If you can't stand on your position, don't say nothing in the comments. You know what I'm saying? I am now challenging all troglodytes. I almost said hermaphrodites, but I ain't got no problem with them. You know what I'm saying? They didn't come in here tripping, but I will definitely. You got a deferring view. We won't stop you from sharing your view. We got some topics for tonight. We got some stuff going on. Princess Bex has a few has a topic. Cincy's got some topics. Let's read them off. What we got. So a CNN report: highly potent weed creating marijuana addicts around the world. No surprise there. And then also from Cincy Star, Congo to auction land to oil companies. Our priority is not to save the world, I believe is the rest of that tagline there. And then Princess Bex has Facebook users react to a man's post calling his fiance not the most beautiful woman in the world. I love it. Hey, folks, I need you to do me another favor. If you are a content creator and you want to promote your joint, make sure you send me the link ahead of time so I can put it in the description of YouTube so people can go check out your content. We are an open source, if you will. We want to make sure we support everyone. And then only if you have the strength and courage and the fortitude to do so, DaVinci will be doing live voice chats in her server, The Feminists Are Up, where she'll be picking topics and going over them. So I'm going to give you a ground rule there. For sure, if you don't have the ability to articulate your point, right, if you're just like hitting keys and you can only say stuff like in the comments, that's probably not the room for you. But, because what's the word I'm looking for? It's Shakespearean, it's eloquent. How can I say this? You'll get your motherfucking head cut off if you're going you just don't know how to stand on your position. So with that said, folks, I got to get into some of the BS that's going on this week, man. In Brooklyn, what is going on in New York? Brooklyn, these Brooklyn cats are acting up, man. They ran up in the spot. Brooklyn pastor gets robbed last week. They get him for like 40 G's worth of jewelry and like all the tithings, right? I don't know why he had 40 G's worth of jewelry, but yeah, they ran up in the spot, put the gun to his head. You know what I'm saying? I heard they might have put a gun allegedly to the head of a small newborn child, 6 months, still qualifies as newborn. So they weren't playing around. Brooklyn is not the place to be lacking in New York City. I know you thought I was going to go dumbing out on this, but actually fairly serious, man. This is something I take a strong position on, and I won't linger here too long. I believe pastors should be paid for their work, right? I believe that. I believe it's backed up by scripture. They should be paid a fair wage. I do not believe, however, that pastors should be rocking $40,000 worth of jewelry, right? There's no way you can justify that for me personally. And I would say to the saints, no matter what denomination, or if you find yourself being Catholic, that you should think very, very thoughtfully and very deeply about who you allow to lead you spiritually, right? They should, according to 1 Timothy, follow a set of parameters that makes them eligible for that station. And if your pastor is asking for money for jets and asking for extra tithings for a building fund, and the building erection isn't until 2029, I need you to leave that church immediately. Go find you a church that is plugged in, and they will pour into you, and they will feed you with the word. Remember, your pastor is not the authority over your life. This is the common misconception that people have about Christianity, and a lot of Christians have. Your pastor is here to guide you. He is here to guide you spiritually. But I just want to, while we're waiting for Bex and before we get into the killer weed, got to get my hands on some of that stuff. Before we get into that, I wanted to hear your thoughts, man. Brooklyn cats, they ain't playing around. They ran up in there, Cincy. What are your thoughts?
Okay, well, here's the big thing. One, if you're gonna be a high profile pastor like that, because what he was doing was actually I believe he broadcasts his stuff live,
right?
You should probably have some security, especially in a situation like that. Even if you just take out the jewelry part, like this day and age, you might want to have some security at your church. Now, the part I just read about this article about 2 days ago, you got a part wrong according to CNN and the New York Times.
Okay, go for it.
Between him and his wife, they took $1 million worth of jewelry. $1 million worth of jewelry. So no. I mean, I want to feel bad for him. I'm also questioning like what type of alignment you had with the Lord and with your congregation that you felt comfortable flexing $1 million worth of jewelry in your church.
Right.
I really don't like the position that this conversation is taking. I understand your positions definitely, and I agree with you. I agree with you both. But I think the problem is that somebody ran up on homeboy. You know what I mean? Like it was giving. It's giving very much like somebody gets shot and they're like, oh well, what did that person do? You know, and I know that's not the position that you guys were taking, but that's kind of what it sounded like when we go immediately to the pastor and like how much money that he's taking. And not to say that he isn't wrong, because I definitely agree with you, but like I really don't want to ignore the fact that these people ran up on him. And like I heard him talking in an interview, and he was like, initially I was scared because I thought that they were there to shoot members of the congregation, which gives us a little bit of a throwback to something else that happened in the past couple of years, which is a valid fear. But like, I get where you guys are coming from. I just don't like that that's where the conversation went first, you know?
No, and I feel that you don't like it. I'm looking at both predatory things that are happening, right? I did acknowledge that these Brooklyn cats are tripping, they're running up in there, and I'm not victim shaming. But, you know, I'm also looking at it this way as well. You know, I don't believe in karma, but you do reap what you sow. And a lot of people will confuse that with karma, right? And when you are in an area where you are to serve and not be served with nearly $1 million worth of jewelry, right? I think that you open yourself up for things that are questionable. Now, they did not deserve to get robbed. That's not what I'm saying. But I will say this, allegedly, there's some other speculation going on, right? And this is more on some street level type stuff. Some people said it was an inside job. I don't know. I can't verify that, can't validate it. But I will say this, man, that's a lot of money around your neck to lose. And most likely it was insured. I hope and pray. And I'm thankful that no one got plugged, right? I'm thankful that the congregation didn't get plugged. And I know the situation you're referring to, DaVinci. We got to separate that, though, right? One was a hate crime. And unless we're saying that these brothers that ran up in there should be charged equally as a hate crime, then we got to differentiate between the young man that ran up in the black church and killed the people who invited him in to pray for his damned soul versus this situation. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I understand that, but I was just trying to like, you know, say that I didn't like how the conversation started out. We went straight for the jewelry and not for the fact that these people got attacked. And I know what you guys were saying. I was just trying to clarify that, like, we're not being like, oh, well, they shouldn't have had all that damn jewelry anyway. But I completely agree with you.
Well, wait, a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I've been listening to hip hop my whole life. You know, give me the loot. This is the world that hip hop has helped make. You know what I'm saying?
You stop that. It's too early in the conversation for you to go there.
You know what I'm saying? They running down on people.
Oh,
you looking flashy, you looking shiny. You know what I'm saying? We make a whole track about it. What did Glorilla say? I'm outside with my ratchet friends. Streets got to eat, you know. This is
she didn't say nothing about snatching no chain.
Not yet. I'm sure she will. Once you know what I'm saying, once she gets there. But okay, let's now that we got that out the way, now that we got the BS out the way, a shout out to that church and the congregation. Thank God that they're all safe. And again, though, you folks need to go find a pastor that's willing to put that 1 million into the community and into you, right? I would like to see more churches, grassroots level, supporting the families with that money. I'm sure there's someone indentured that needs a rent check that 1 million could have gone to. So let's talk about this Sticky, icky, Cincy. What's going on here, man?
All right. Well, I know. I think we've briefly, excuse me, touched on this before in past Dope Dynamic episodes. Too much disagreement from the audience, but we have scientific proof now that weed is definitely causing you to have some drug addict. For lack of me not calling anybody a crackhead tonight. Word. So the article basically says that higher concentrations of THC, the part of the marijuana that makes you high, is causing more people to become addicted in many parts of the world. Basically what they did was they took a study of people who not only are having legal troubles with marijuana, but also checking themselves into rehabilitation from marijuana use. And what coincides with the increase of people seeking out help for marijuana addiction is
Right.
also the increase in potency over about the last 2 decades of the marijuana that's being sold.
Okay.
So I wanted to bring this up because it's kind of controversial. I'm not like one of those people that's going to just jump out the window and be like, don't smoke weed, this and that, it's bad for you, yada, yada, yada. My issue is that because it doesn't have such a bad reputation as harder drugs, as far as like the side effects go,
Right.
people just think that they can just use it for whatever or whenever and forget about moderation. And those people, at least firsthand, I felt like I've seen what is addictive behavior that's similar to other abuses of addiction, whether it's drugs or food, whatever it is. But we never really had proof until these studies are starting to come out. So it's more than just someone who's not smoking weed like that anymore telling you, hey, you're acting like an addict. It's starting to actually, be scientifically proven that you have an addiction and it's causing things like psychosis and what do they call it? It's like detachment. I don't think I said that right. But
psychosis and social
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I've been saying that for a long time. Like people would tell me like, oh, you can't get addicted to weed. You can't get addicted to weed. But homie, if you don't smoke, you can't eat. Or like if you don't smoke, like you don't feel like going to work. Or if you don't smoke, you don't feel like you can get through the day. Like that feels just as much as I'm having a stroke, an addiction as anything else. And like there are plenty of like herbs and flowers that you can smoke that don't have the same, like blue lotus or skullcap or mugwort or clove. Like
right.
there's lots of smokable herbs and flowers. And for those of you guys who want that list, like I'll post it in my dick wart, my Discord. But like Indian warrior is a plant. It's a muscle relaxer and a sleep aid. Mugwort enhances or improves recollection of dreams. Like skullcap is a mild sedative and it treats insomnia. It's an antiviral and anti-inflammatory and anti-allergenic. So like there's plenty of things, but like I feel like people have only been introduced to one sort of thing, and since that helped, they didn't look for anything else. But I do think that it has always been that way. And like I don't know about y'all, but even when I was in college, this shit was extra strong.
So here's my thing, right? Working in the chemical dependency field for years, right? I know this is not new science, right? There's always been sufficient evidence that weed has an addictive quality to it, right? And that's where they categorized it at first. It's like it has an addictive quality to it physically and mentally, right? So, and a lot of people don't want to make the negative association of weed being called addictive because they don't want to be considered someone that's like addicted on meth or addicted to crack or addicted to heroin. They make that correlation. So they do this weird thing where they're like, I don't do hard drugs, right? But I think with weed, I've always approached it, with marijuana, I've always approached it with the sliding scale method, which is not a method you should use. It's just how I've approached people in this conversation, which is how is it inhibiting you on your day-to-day basis, right? Do you need to smoke to get out of bed? And if so, what are the reasons that needs to be relevant in your life? There's some people that deal with chronic, pain that has been diagnosed and categorized by a medical physician, not some crackpot on Santa Monica Boulevard in California, at the beach and walking by, get your green card. There are some people that have smoked medical grade weed to deal with that, and it helps them function with some semblance of normalcy. But reading this article that you're presenting, right, we do have to take a look at it, because if you're saying that addiction can be a social disorder as well, that there are some people who need to smoke to maintain, as we say in the hood, that we then need to understand that there's a difference there, right? Like if you find yourself slipping into the realms of addiction to the point where you are now unable to maintain a job, right? You're unable to maintain relationships. You have now chosen the substance over day-to-day activities, and it is impairing you to the point where you can't function normally outside of having it or not. Then yeah, you're an addict. And I don't want you to feel judged when I say that. If you are addicted to a substance, I want you to know that resources are available to you, right? You should seek help. That doesn't demonize everyone else that's smoking it, right? Do you, as long as you don't cross the line where it's starting to impair your ability to live life or impact the quality of lives of people who may depend on you, like if you have children or something like that. But this is like old hat, and I'm glad you brought this to light, Cincy, because this has been an argument. People are like, it's not addictive. I'm like, it is, right? Alcohol is addictive, but it's illegal. And we're asking you as an adult to make a decision. Are you overly dependent on this? And I think that conversation just gets blown all the way out.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing I do like that this article pointed out to wasn't just that it was addictive. It also pointed to some of the more severe symptoms of being addicted to it. Because you could say, well, I'm addicted to this or that, but if it doesn't have a side effect, can you really convince someone not to do something? And I'm not saying any of this information is going to convince anybody to stop smoking regardless, but
right.
I do want to, one of the comments you just passed up on here, I did want to talk about, because yes, we can't deny that over the history of the United States, the government tampers with stuff. But I think one of the big things that we have to look at, especially in relation to this article, and especially when you compare it to now's times where the government is the big weed seller at this point, this article's data goes back to 1975 for this study. So this is, whether you want to say they were tampering with weed back then or not, that's cool. I'm not going to disagree or agree with you, but it goes well before the government actually started selling people weed. So I do want to point that part out. But to also play into that, you should make no mistake that as they're becoming more and more regulated finally with opioids, that they're loosening up the regulations on marijuana, because they will do their best to keep people pacified.
Right.
I'm going to say
also, I think that we can't pass over the fact that a lot of the demographic of people who smoke weed at least every day, I think that maybe a lot of them suffer with maybe an anxiety or a depression because of financial insecurity and everything like that. I know back when I used to smoke, I worked at a restaurant. And them was the dark days. I couldn't afford to take a day off. I couldn't afford to get professional help and everything like that for any of the things that I was dealing with. And a lot of the thinking back then, for me at least, was, I just have to make it through today, or I just have to make it through this week, or I just have to make it through this month, and this is going to help me do that. and then we'll reinspect things after this deadline comes. But there was always a deadline. There was always, like, something that needed to be accommodated for, something that needed to be done, something that I needed to push through. Like, I don't know if y'all ever did this, but like I would have like a mental breakdown on Wednesday, and I'd be like, I can't afford to do this right now. We'll do it Saturday. And we would postpone the mental breakdown till Saturday. And I know that a lot of people who worked alongside me, and a lot of people that, like, I've seen in the emergency room or elsewhere, like, since, have like the same thought process and everything like that it gets you through. And I think that goes back to something that Cincy was saying. He was saying, like, the government will let up on anything that will keep us pacified, because they know that the situations are like wild, outlandish, crazy right now. So yeah.
No, I agree with that. I agree with your assessment. I agree with Cincy's, especially about being pacified. Like, they'll open the floodgates if they think that somehow this is going to suppress a lot of civil unrest, if it is going to be used as it was referred to. And I believe it was 1984, or what's the other book? At any rate, as the opioid.
Don't bring George Orwell into this, please.
I'll bring whoever I need in. Please. I'm a well-read man, even if I can't remember the names of the books. But I'm going to be real with you. I would like to apply something here, and I want to hear from you two about this. An application here. So there's a thing called ethical capitalism. I know Vinky's going to throw that out right away, but ethical capitalism, capitalism with conscience, right? And this point of view assumes that people who are practicing it are using a type of ethic to decide that, hey, we cannot allow capitalism to succeed to the point where people are harmed by it, right? And I think that we should also apply this to ethical substance consumption. Now, you guys know, I don't think under any circumstance should things like I don't know if I can say this on Twitch and YouTube, but cocaine, I can't think of a practical reason why that drug should be legalized, right? There is no practical reason. I cannot think of it. I cannot think of a practical reason in which heroin should be legalized. And if they were legalized, I don't want to live in the neighborhoods where they are legalized, right? I'm not dealing with that. I've seen The Walking Dead. I know how that story ends. But when it comes to something like medicinal marijuana and recreational marijuana use, I'm okay with that as long as there is an agreed upon ethic in which it's being distributed, right? I would not want the government so heavily involved in this where they control every part of it. Now, if you're telling me it's going to be something, and this is going to sound real hippy dippy right now, but I'm applying this train of thought to it. If you're telling me that it's being used and being sold by farmers who are certified, who care about their craft, right, who are bringing quality items, not genetically engineered items, to people in need, then I'm okay with that, as long as the floodgates are open for services, right? I think we have not invested enough money, even though some people can make a legible argument that we've invested too much money in substance abuse counseling. Per DeVinky's point, it's hard for people to find services. I think that some of those federal dollars that they're licking their chops on is, don't you think for a second that the Fed doesn't want a piece of this? They're just trying to figure out how they can roll back some language. But the minute they do start taxing it, I think some of that money should go to substance abuse, right? Counseling. One of the things I've always said that I respect about the LGBT community, even though we have fundamental differences in worldviews, is that if you go to North Hollywood, California, there's a free outpatient substance abuse service center in the middle of it that's open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. where they have AA meetings, NA meetings, CA meetings. They have outpatient services that are free to their community. There should be a place like that in every community in America. There literally should be. And that way, when people have crossed over the line, whether they pursue a long-term life in, AA recovery or, pragmatic or therapeutic recovery, the option should be available. I don't think that, for me personally, marijuana falls in the Schedule 2, even though I think it's categorized as that, as heroin and cocaine. Like, I know that the government could use it to subdue the masses, but I do believe that people should be allowed to make their decision in regard to that, because if it's not a hallucinogenic, I think that, and this is anecdotal at the best, the reports on people putting their babies in microwaves because they were under the influence of marijuana are almost nil. Whereas the reports of people smothering, drowning their children while in a meth-induced or cocaine-induced or heroin-induced psychosis are extremely high. I think we all have seen articles like that, and we've trained ourselves not to pay attention to it. So I'm okay with people, and I mean it the way I'm saying it, I'm okay with people making that decision, but we have to be responsible and read articles like the one Cincy's proposed, because there's something else going on here, right? Like, we don't need super strains of weed. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like, that defeats the purpose of it, I would think.
First of all, there's no such thing as ethical capitalism.
Anything I said, you literally held on to that one point. In fact, you are wrong. There is such a thing as ethical capitalism.
I know there's such a thing as the word, and it has a definition and it's a concept, but like, so far as I'm concerned, capitalism only ever always deteriorates into fascism, like some kind of fascist government. You know what I mean? Anyways, and this goes into what I was saying in the pre-show about like Antonio Gramsci. Do you remember what I was talking about?
Yes.
And the cultural homogeny, and yes, how they create ideas or they create standards that people begin to align with and think of as common sense, but they don't really serve the people at all. The people who are making those things happen. Like, anyways, you're gonna get me into a whole thing about how ethical capitalism doesn't exist, and we've got topics for tonight, so
it's all right. We can always go there, but I will say this: I want to acknowledge all the new people here. You might be new to me, but familiar to someone else here. Thank you for being here tonight, man. Zola Dreamer says, how do you feel about the countries that are letting all drugs be legal or decriminalized? Me personally, I understand that there's, even from a Christian worldview, there's an argument to do this, right? There's a literate passage in the Bible that says turn people over to their sins so they could know God better, is what it's alluding to, right? How could someone know God if they don't know the depth of which they're willing to go? My concern is always going to come from a substance abuse practitioner worldview, which is, yes, you can legalize it. And the countries that have done it, those countries, Amsterdam, and I believe the other one is, Switzerland, correct me if I'm wrong, they've also increased services as well. So right there, if you're going to go that route, then I would hope that you're going to increase services, because even though you allow people to do opioids in the safety of their own home, that doesn't prevent them from having an overdose, right? That's a real possibility. So my answer to the question is, I don't live in those countries, but I know for a fact that they've also increased their services as well. But I'm against it, just to stand my ground. I'm against cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine being legal. And I'm also against over prescribing of certain pills, right? We see how that's ripped through places like Staten Island, the Midwest, all those blue collar guys that got, and women that got over prescribed barbiturates and painkillers. That basically took over the heroin epidemic. The Midwest, Cincy, popping pills, man. Like, Staten Island.
I think white people are just mad because opiates are taking over the white community the way that crack took over. You know what? I'm not going to get into it.
No. Go ahead.
Also, that's not the question that was asked. I want to talk about, since you don't look like that, please, because I'll go down the rabbit hole. But Zola said that, how do you feel about the countries that are letting all the drugs be legal and decriminalized and everything like that? I really find it hard to compare a lot of those places to America. You just have to look at the dynamic of the people there, the majority of the population of the people there. And I am all into borrowing aspects from other other parts of the world that have worked, but you have to look at like America. We're like a melting pot. Like I don't want to say like our issues are different, our people are different and everything like that, but like when I look at a bunch of the places that those things are legal, they have like a lot more safety nets. They have a lot more trust in their government systems, and even if it's not like much more, because like I think that everybody's pretty frustrated with their governments right now. I think that they have a different relationship with their government officials, like what their expectations and everything like that, and how anything that would be implemented in their society would be run. Like I feel like in America sometimes the game is like, if you don't get caught, you can do it.
Okay. Bex, welcome in.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
It's because you work for the devil. What do you think about the countries that have legalized drugs?
I mean, I share a lot of the same opinions as you two, that those countries offer an extremely higher level and easier access to help, just to keep it real simple. And when you say like, how do you feel about that? It's not that those countries are very different than America. First and foremost, let's just say that, like DaVinci just said, when you are legalizing everything, they're not doing that because they want people to be able to make the choice whether to do something or not. They do it because they don't want their criminal justice system to operate like ours does, to the point where someone who has an addiction ends up spending the rest of their entire life stuck in the system because they never actually received any help. So when you decriminalize something like, marijuana, or even a harder addiction than that, what you're doing is actually giving your citizens an opportunity to actually seek help or present them with help, instead of just immediately locking them up. Because, if we're going to be real, I'm not, I'd be lying if I said there's no jail system or prison system that doesn't have recovery pods or recovery programs. But that's not most of them. That's not how it's set up here. It's set up for you to immediately be criminalized. Well, do you think, and we'll just make it personal, everybody in the family has an uncle or an aunt that's down bad for something, whether it's alcohol or not? Are they a criminal, or do they have an actual problem that would be better served being put in a system of help rather than just being locked up with every other criminal?
So here's the thing, right? I believe that when it comes to drugs and crime, right? The unfortunate thing is, if you are struggling with substance abuse, you're struggling privately, right? If you're like selling your own personal possessions, that impacts you and your immediate nuclear family, right? Or the people that are in your network. The minute your addiction forces you to start moving into misdemeanors and then felonies, the unfortunate truth is, yes, you are a criminal, right? Right. The minute and we like to socially in our mind, we like to make this distinction like, well, he's stealing stuff from, CVS, he's stealing from the grocery store. But here's the problem: if you don't understand drug culture, right? Yes, someone may steal food to eat. Okay. And we would all be okay with that, but someone's still experiencing a loss. But let's forget the large conglomerates for a second.
Yeah, when it's a corporation. Steal from Walmart, not from mom and pops.
But here's the thing: by definition, if you steal from Walmart to support your habit, then yes, you are a criminal. What you're really talking about, my brother, is once they are prosecuted, and prosecuted they should be. Sometimes that's the only thing that saves someone from an overdose. You should be arrested for shoplifting. What should not be done is, there's a level system when you're incarcerated, right? Level ones or lower level offenders should not be put into general population and general pop with level 4. I think actually 4 is the lower in the regards, but you should not be put in with hardened criminals, right? Like you should be separated and put into different areas, because the problem is those people who are dealing with those lower level charges then get preyed upon by hardened criminals, right? But yes, because, and it's escalating too, and that's the thing we don't want to deal with. Like, so we're okay with them stealing for food, but a lot of times then it goes to retail, right? They're stealing to support their habit. They're trading things to their drug dealers. Yes, you are a criminal once you cross that line.
Yeah, and I completely understand that point. So, like, if we're talking about, you know, a drug addict that is stealing, you are going to do crime for stealing, like you said, and then maybe we move them into another situation.
Right.
And you could make a great case, probably, especially if you had the numbers right in front of you, that a lot of people, if not the majority of people that are in jail for things like theft, burglary, et cetera, are users of drugs. The issue, I think, especially like with what I'm saying, is aside from alcohol, where you essentially have to be doing a crime to get busted for it, up until recently, even with weed, every single drug, you don't have to commit a crime other than possessing the drug to be sent to jail. So there's a handful of people that are in the system and will forever be in the system before they ever reach the point of addiction that they started stealing.
Yeah. And
do you guys? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Bex,
Huh?
Bex, did you say something? Oh, that was you, Davingy. Go ahead.
Do you guys remember when we were talking about prostitution as a legitimate form of work? And I brought up the concept of legalizing prostitution, but making it illegal to solicit sex services.
Yes.
Do you guys remember that?
I do.
Like,
yeah.
I think that, like, that's immediately what I thought of when since he was talking about the decriminalization of like the drugs and everything like that, so that people can continue to seek help for an addiction. You know what I mean? Because like if you have the drug in your system or whatever, I know the hospital can't report you, but if you go somewhere and you're just like, hey, I need help, you're admitting that you've done the drug, which is illegal, which makes you a criminal, and you can't get help. Or at least that's like the thinking that a lot of people have. They're like, I can't go get help because then I'll be associated with the crime that I've done, and maybe I'll go to jail, and maybe then after that I won't be able to get a job, and so they're stuck in the vicious cycle, right?
Well, here's the thing about that, right? So in the great state of California, they had rolled out many programs, and other places too as well, like drug diversion programs, right? You do get the opportunity where if you're picked up for a lower amount, right? So if, I don't think anyone should be doing hard time for having a nick on them, right? Or having a dime on them, right? But then we start getting to the point of intent, right? Because then you start mixing in dealers with people who might be struggling with the actual substance, right? And when I say, okay, I could see someone dealing with cocaine issues having a ball on them. We're not going to get into all the that's an 8-ball for the uninitiated. But the problem is a dealer might also have an 8-ball on them, right? So then if you're in a state that has a drug diversion program and there's only one bed allocated for the month, how then does the state determine if the dealer says the same thing that the substance abuser is dealing with, right? And that's where this whole thing gets muddled, and it's really complicated to deal with. My suggestion has always been to the states, like, hey, you need to do testing at the point of booking, right? So if someone says to you, oh, I got this 8-ball on me because I'm dealing with substance abuse issues, like, hey, man, my heart breaks for you. Now I need you to pee in this cup so we can determine if that's true or not. If there's no cocaine in the system after a urine sample and DNA sample, that person is clearly a dealer, right? Because we all know a real yayo head is going to have something in his system, right? And we're not talking about trace, picogram amounts from him chopping up work. I learned this all from Gangland before anyone starts getting any thoughts.
Oh my God.
watch a lot of Gangland. They just educating me, man. But like, you know, that I think that that's one way to support what you guys are saying is we need to test people once they've been arrested, right? They need to be tested. And if it's someone that has stuff in their system, then we've now established this is someone that's dealing with a substance abuse issue. And if you're a state that has a drug diversion, I agree with you guys. Like, hey, this person is dealing with an issue. Let's remand them to the custody of a treatment center for a 9-month, not 60 days, 9-month program. Right? Because anyone that's at that point needs at least 9 months, 3 months just for detox, another 3 months just to get their feet back under them. And the rest of that is just for the rehabilitative program and job search and all that stuff. But if you test them and they're negative, then we've also found out that this person's a dealer. They should be prosecuted. And, you know, they should be prosecuted. And I think that frees up a lot of beds. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. But like these programs that you're talking about, like they're the exception and not the rule. They're not everywhere. They're not available to everyone. Like, you know, and they're not even posed as an option to certain kinds of people. You know what I mean? And I completely agree with you. You're a mental health professional, and like I probably lean towards your judgment because you know better. But I don't trust in the way that things have been handled because I am a part of the healthcare system. And I see how these people get passed off sometimes because they're hard to deal with. Like if you've never been read to like filth by a crackhead who's withdrawing or an alcoholic, because man, they be hurting my feelings, bro. They call me everything under the sun. But sometimes it's easier to just pass them off. And I think that a lot of people do that. Also, let's get back to that capitalism that you were talking about. What kind of money do these programs make, you know? I'm just saying.
I'm sorry. My son had a very important question for me. Right at that moment, I had to mute and turn my camera off. What did you just say?
I had a very important question too.
Well, he is my blood, and he gets my priority. What
Fucking crotch goblins, always taking up all the attention.
Listen, my children are not crotch goblins because, you know, they are beautiful blessings from God to test and fortify me every day. What did you say? Repeat yourself.
Fine, crotch fruit then. Crotch fruit.
You remember your point? What did you say?
I was being sarcastic. It's not even important anymore.
No, but first I want to correct you only on one thing in that whole thing. I am not a mental health professional, just so I don't get sued by any boards or anything like that. I've never been licensed, and I've always reported to an MFT, so I have to be ethical and report that. The second thing is, you're right. These programs should be readily available. I'm dealing mostly in a hypothetical. When they were available in places like California, they were defunded after Schwarzenegger and during his term of governor. But here's the problem, right? And we have to get honest about this, and I'm not indicting myself or anyone else. Drug diversion programs are often abused even by the people who need them the most, even if they don't do it on purpose. And that's why they did away with a lot of the drug diversion programs, because it was of the relapse rate where people weren't taking the program seriously.
Yes, I understand that. In the ER, a lot of the time when it gets cold, that's when we expect the homeless people who say that they're suicidal because they get 24 to 48 hours in the hold and they get to avoid a harsh night and everything like that. And so it makes it particularly hard to continue to take people seriously when you work in the ER and somebody says, oh, I'm feeling suicidal. I have a plan. They know how to answer the questions and everything like that. I understand that there are people who abuse the system. Truly, I do. But there are people that need help as well. Do you think that we should do away with the system because there are people who abuse it?
No, we shouldn't do away with the system. But again, we have to look at why systems have been defunded, because it costs quite a bit of money for things like drug diversion, right? And that's the issue right there. It costs money. It costs the county money. It costs the state money, especially if someone's indigent in funds to remand them to programs. Unless we came up with a way where we're saying we're not charging any of these facilities any money, right? They don't have to pay for food, and it's all just donation based. It costs, last time I checked, $60,000 a month for one person to be in treatment, and that's in a county funded facility. And that's when I worked at one in 2009. To Taino's question, forgive my ignorance, but how in a 9-month program scenario does a person continue to take care of their daily, monthly responsibility when remanded to care facility? All right, so that all falls under the pretense of the fact that if you're being busted for having an 8-ball, there's a very good chance that you are already in a sliding scale of being in a place of danger and harm. So if you want, I believe, this is my personal belief, if you want help, you have to be willing to take the help that's being statistically proven to work, right? So at the very least, a 6-month inpatient program works better than a 30-day outpatient program when you're dealing with a substance like cocaine. It's the same thing for heroin. 30 days, typically it only takes 3 weeks to 4 weeks to detox fully from heroin, right? Where at the point where you don't need to be in a medical detox, and then you can start to ease into a peer-based social structure program. Same thing with methamphetamine, even though, technically the detox from methamphetamine is only 3 days, but there's some evidence to suggest that people could be detoxing it from it for 6 months. So you need at least 3 months just to acclimate to life without the substance in your system. Detox, learning how to be without it, and doing all the things therapeutically that have to be done. But to answer your question, the same thing I used to tell my patients and my clients in the treatment center, hey, you forfeited a lot of those responsibilities when you were out there doing drugs. The reason you were picked up by the police and you were given this opportunity was you had enough drugs in your system and on your person where this seemed to be a viable option. We can't pretend like we can turn people back over to their families while they're doing an outpatient service if it's just something like heroin and crack. We have to take that seriously, right? Like, this person is doing a drug that could end their life at any point. So 9 months is statistically proven to be the appropriate amount of time for a person to learn to live life again without the aid of substances. Go ahead.
Do you remember in 2014, there was a study that came out of Philadelphia, and this is kind of unrelated, but kind of related. It just popped into my mind. But there was a study that came out in 2014 out of Philadelphia, and it confirmed that it was cheaper to fix homelessness by giving homeless people homes to live in rather than to let them live on the streets, and that there were enough houses in the United States to home every homeless person. But the reason that they don't was because there needed to be a physical reminder for people to work. And then there was a report by the May Central Florida Commission of Homelessness indicating that the region, like just them alone, because they have a list of regions of how much everybody spends on homeless people. They said that they spend approximately $31,000 per year per homeless person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like we have a lot of underlying issues in our society that cause people to abuse other programs so that they can get what they need, that's why those programs can't work the way that they're supposed to function, because people are using them for not what they're supposed to be used for, because we're lacking in other areas. And that just popped up in my mind during this conversation. I just thought about that, especially since we brought up ethical capitalism a little bit earlier, and I won't soon let it go.
Ethical capitalism is...
I'm just saying. It was a little jokey joke.
It's
sprinkled it in there for the culture.
I know. I'm gonna fire this one off, and I hope it lands in your front yard. It is very much a concept, just like communism is. And it depends on the parties practicing it, if it will be tyrannical or it will be ethical. And until we have ethical parties that are willing to put the theory to test, both are subject to be criticized.
Absolutely. And I'm up all day to criticize.
No. It's Sensei's turn. This is not going to turn into a chess match.
So now it's Sensei's turn. Since you put something in my front yard and I can't send a little something back. All right, okay. We got topics. Anyways, we got topics.
I feel the retaliation fire must be shot back before I speak.
When Da Vinci gets 2 and I get 1, that makes the red pill guys right. You know what I'm saying? So it's got to be 2.
The red pill guys are never right, and that's why they're salty. But anyways,
wait. I want to tap in with our dear sister Bex, who's been sitting here with the new PFP. Bex, your thoughts?
I was just playing catch up, reading the article. I have a question. Is the rise in the potency of the THC, is this something natural, or is this are we dabbling, fucking around with shit?
Like, of course I'm dabbling.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like you said, messing around with it.
It's genetically modified, just like our food. Just look up bananas anyway.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I mostly agree with everything that's been said. I'm like with you though, Da Vinci. I have like a severe distrust of any of this in the way it's set up. And the problem is, like Steve said, you are gonna have people that abuse the system. As far as these programs, the diversion programs, but you have to take a long, hard look at not just the person who's abusing them, but how ineffective the system has to be in order for a person to think abusing that system is the best way to get by.
Is their only way, right? That's what I was saying.
Because here's one thing I do know. The way the government, and at least in Ohio, there's no clear defined diversion program. It's mostly set up in counties. If counties believe in diversion programs, they're going to do it. In Hamilton County, where I live, they have a few diversion programs set up. The problem with these is that they're so antiquated, that they're running on systems that were used when substance abuse counseling was first created. And people would like to say, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if you look at the actual numbers of people who go through like a 12-step program, there's other programs like moderation programs that have higher success rates than 12 steps for people not getting in trouble for their, and specific, that one specific with alcohol. But when you look at diversion programs, like Steve said, especially in the system, they're very short, 30, 60, 90-day programs. Right. And I really hate to bring up companies that actually are for profit when it comes to, trying to serve you into better health and treat your addiction. But even when you look at their numbers, and the majority of those are inpatient, very, very long programs. And their numbers they make the 12-step in the Tabor House in Hamilton County, and all the government programs look like they're literally set up to do nothing but be a face of we're doing the right thing, when in actuality, they're just continuing the same circle that would be going on if they weren't even set up to begin with.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And also, like, it makes it really hard. And like, I know mental health professionals are doing their best. I know that they're doing their jobs, like, or at least some of them. I'm not even going to say most of them, because the more that I work with like medical professionals, the less I trust healthcare. They just dump new grads out on the floor because we need the numbers sometimes. And that's just dangerous. It makes me really like skeptical of how they would implement these programs in the first place. Like, who do they actually pay attention to? They still teach like racial bias in medical school. They still taught it to me in nursing school, bro. Like, I learned for the first time in nursing school that Black people have thicker skin and they don't feel as much pain. Like, we still use the fucking GFR. Like, it baffles me. Like, even if these programs were in place, like, medical racism is still very much taught in school. I'm very skeptical about who they would treat, how much leeway they would give those people, like, how tired the people are practicing because they're understaffed. And it's not because they're not hiring, let's be honest. And I don't really want to call out like the biggest healthcare organization in America, or probably even the world, because I work for them and they might fire me. But it's not because they don't make enough money. It's because they realize that they have more profit working on a skeleton crew. But that's just beside the fact. I just don't trust the implementation. And that's why we're understaffed countrywide. They have finally recognized, or I'm not even going to say finally, they could just get away with recognizing that it's cheaper to work on a skeleton crew. And now people aren't getting the products that they need. They're not getting the help that they need. The implementation is not in place. It's just not the same in other countries. It's just not. So,
I mean, but I agree with what you're saying in regards to the understaffing, because when I was a case manager, shout out to People in Progress, Sun Valley, California, when I was a case manager there, I had at the height 30 people on my caseload. 30 people that I had to do one-on-ones with, 30 people that I had to organize to make sure they're getting the appropriate services, because we were county funded. So that means we didn't have an on-site clinician. I would have to outsource them to another body that we worked with, is an actual term for it, that we liaised with, and they were in a continuum of care, all provided. Shout out to Michael Moore. And to the point Cynthia made about the antiquated method, I agree with that, because here's the problem with treatment centers as they are, but I am also acknowledging that they have done a great deal of good, right? A lot of people don't respond to a 12-step model of rehabilitation, and a lot of treatment centers abuse the fact that meetings are free, right? So yes, you can expose your clients to a 12-step model, and it works great for most people, even though statistically it's proven that a lot of people relapse up to 3 times, depending on their choice of substance, before they find any long-term sobriety or recovery, whichever term you want to use. The issue is that, yes, there is moderation therapy that could be used, especially with things like drinking. There are some people who just need it, maybe, and this is just me speaking, not on behalf of the therapeutic community. There are some people who don't qualify as what you would call a dangerous user. There were other underlying issues that had forced them into that level of consumption. They were dealing with what we would call co-occurring issues. So they had a substance abuse issue, and maybe they were also dealing with homelessness, which a lot of people who are in a homeless state are going to do drugs and drink more to cope with their situation, or they have mental health issues and they were self-medicating. I think once you get into the treatment process, being able to have a process to discern whether or not, and this should be worked out between the client and their case manager, do you want to enroll into a lifetime process of 12 steps? No. Okay, then there are other forms of recovery, right? And they don't abide by spiritual principle. They're more therapeutic, that let's deal with some of these core issues that might be causing you to drink or use drugs. And I think you're right, Davinci. We don't look at it the same way that a lot of countries do, the same way we don't look at rehabilitation in regards to incarceration, the same way even a country like Israel does, right? And that's where it needs to be revamped. But again, this is the hardest part of this statement, and I'm going to sound, and I don't want to sound this way, someone's got to pay for all of this, right? So
I knew you were going to say that.
we have to make a decision, and it's real, right? We have to make a decision as a society in America what our identity is going to be in regards to this. I am the type of person who does not mind paying higher taxes if my taxes are going to programs like this, right? Me and Mrs. Holdup made a decision when Obamacare was rolled out. We enrolled, even though I was making $150,000 a year right? There was no need for me to enroll in this. And because we were making so much money, we were paying more than we would with private insurance. But for me personally, and this is not to like amp myself up, I was like, if you're telling me that $900 is going to help another family, I'm with it. Because that's the point, right? The point is, if my money is being allocated to help another citizen, I'm all for that. And I'm not espousing communism here. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we need to make a decision as Americans. Do we want to kick in a little bit more to help the next person, right? And then if we do that, how are they protecting our dollars and this movement to make sure people are getting services, right? Because at a certain point, there has to be a cutoff point. Like, I get the point you were making earlier, Sensei, because I used to argue this point when I was in treatment. I'm like, you shouldn't get kicked out of here just because you tested dirty. I'm on drugs. Of course I tested dirty. But then you start looking at the practicality of that train of thought. If we give you a second opportunity, what about the other guy that's sitting in county right now waiting for a bed to open up, right? And because there is no shelter program to hold him or her, until then, that person starts to do dead time. They were only supposed to be in for 3 weeks. They're waiting for a bed. Now they're in for 5 months. And that's why I just think we start looking at it peg by peg. I agree with what you guys are saying. I know it's rare. We need to, one, not incarcerate substance abusers who can be verified as people dealing with substance abuse issues with level 4 criminals, right? So from my own personal experience, when you get processed in LA County Jail, they go through the medical screening. They check you for TB. They make sure, you don't have any other pathogens that you might be bringing into this filthy place, as if I'm going to make other people sick, not this facility. And at that point, if you're doing that level of screening, why not just test someone as well, right? Why not test them, establish what's in their system? Physically, you can establish if someone's on methamphetamine, if they got open pores, skin, scabs. Same thing with heroin, abscesses. Those people need to be put in a different part of the prison where they can get medical attention, mental health attention, and we have to make a decision. I'm willing to pay for that type of stuff. I'm willing to give more if you're telling me that's going to help the situation. And a lot of people, a lot of conservatives will say that sounds like forced charity. Well, until willing charity is in a place where people are willing to do it, I'm okay with that. I just have a hard time reconciling that I'm forcing other people to do it, even though I think it's necessary. Makes sense?
Yeah, and not charity as in buying expensive art and having your friend curate it so that you can, what, never mind. Anyway, did you see that comment? It's just like, is this new season's character socialist service, Steve? I love that. Anyways, I think we should get to the next topic.
Wait, hold on for a second. Who said that? Because I think that's actually my older brother. And like, I'm almost positive because there's no one else that goes by that moniker. But yeah. No. It isn't.
We like socialist service, Steve. Bring him in more.
No, social service, not socialist service.
Socialist. I can read. Very educated woman.
I am a huge proponent of social services, and I think that those people in that field need not be paid $16.50 an hour. I think that if you're doing the type of training and learning that most registered nurses are doing, it parallel, right? Because registered nurses go through a lot of schooling and a lot of pressure put on them as well. But the same thing for substance abuse counselors. The starting pay when I was one was $16.50 with 30 people on my caseload. Now, it's not going to diminish how I treat them, but they should be paid more, right? And here's another thing you guys might be aware of, but people get stigmatized about this. A lot of people who go through these programs also start working in this field, right? And if you're going to start having people who are like, man, this helped me, I want to help other people, let's bring that up a notch, man. Let's get them to $19.50. Let's get them to, hey, thank you for the cheers, Sensei. Let's get them to, let's get them to $20 an hour because they're helping people out. But let's move on to the next topic. I think we all agreed on that one.
Socialist service, Steve. We love it.
I'm telling you, if you come barking around my yard talking about, I thought you were a socialist. I'm like, no, I pay for these are my things.
That's exactly what I'm gonna say at Thanksgiving dinner. Ain't you a socialist?
Yo, you'll have my whole family clapping like, finally, you've seen the light. I'm like, Y'all better have y'all portion of the money for this turkey. This shit wasn't free. They didn't give it to me. So Bex, you had a topic in here, man, that is just wild, and I love it. I love it. You want to roll it out, Bex? What? I got to share the screen on this one. Hold up for a second. Hold on. This is fucking amazing. There we go. Damn.
Don't play any music again. You'll get the episode taken down.
I took that shit down before they could. What's going on here, Bex?
Okay, so this Nigerian life coach, and I use that term lightly, Solomon Bucci, he has gone viral for posting this weird ass, shady ass, supposed to be love profession to his fiance on Facebook. I'm gonna read it. We're gonna read it out loud. Okay, so he says, "You're not the most beautiful woman, neither are you the most intelligent woman, but like I've chosen to never find perfection in anyone else. I put my gaze on you, and with that commitment, we would mold ourselves for ourselves. Our perfection is our commitment." Stating that you're not the most beautiful, intelligent might sound like it's not a compliment, yeah? But it's a realistic base for real love. Acknowledging that my woman isn't the best, but I'm not looking for the best. I was looking for you and I found you. There's no best, there is just someone you choose and see the best in them. This
Okay.
to me is the real love, not the one that controls itself in the faux reality that their partner is the most good looking, most intelligent, most successful person in the world. That's disingenuous and doesn't give room for love to thrive. I love you. I'm committed to you. I miss you so much. But my love for you is stronger than distance. Okay.
I
Oh,
hate
boy.
that. I hated that.
Here we go.
Okay.
Man.
I feel like men aren't sending us their best people because what the fuck is this?
Okay.
The first sentence already told me everything that I needed to know about this dusty ass motherfucker.
Period.
And it's funny because his fiance is a whole fucking scientist. Like, she's beautiful. She is stunning. She is a beautiful Nigerian scientist. And he's a whole fucking Furby out in these streets. Like, what are you doing? And
This,
like,
go
you
ahead.
are publicly declaring your love for the woman that you're about to marry, and this is how you do it. Like, is this the black love that everybody is talking about? Because if it is, throw
I
this
don't
shit
want it.
away. Yes, throw this shit away. It is trash. This man is a whole fucking narcissist, and it's funny because he's focusing on like her negative and not her positive attributes. He's talking about her like she's like some type of placeholder until he finds what he really wants. And notice that he doesn't mention his flaws, he's only talking about hers. So if this weird ass post was really about some deep love type shit, why aren't you mentioning your flaws as well? And like when I was reading this, women, we have this thing, like the term is called nice nasty. Like we'll drag you without yelling or like without using like curse words or anything like that. And that's what this was given to me. Like it was given like feminine, nice, nasty energy. And I don't like that. But
You're
excuse my
spilling the
language.
secrets again, Bex.
I'm just saying. That's what's given. It needs to be said. And excuse my language, but if niggas out here doing bitch shit, then what the bitch is gonna do? Like,
Oh,
Please, why would you say that? Oh my goodness.
thank
First of
you.
all,
Thank you.
shut up, Steve.
Thank you.
Shut up. Oh my goodness.
Let's get these gender roles right.
I'm just saying. And he's basically saying that he's the prize and he settled for her, and I don't like that. Like, are you jealous of her? Like, you're supposed to be her protector, and this isn't protecting. Like, where are these men's emotional intelligence? Like,
This man.
I feel like this solidifies something that I've been saying for a long time. Niggas don't marry the women that they're in love with. They marry the women who are there when they're ready to settle down. And like,
oh boy,
go ahead, Dex, please.
No, I agree with that.
oh boy.
At the end of the day, I'm pretty sure they're still going to get married, which is unfortunate because this is a major red flag, but whatever.
Let me ask you a question. So there's two things. The totalitarian use of that word, the N-word, saying that men marry. What was the statement? Run that one back.
The one that I just said, men don't marry the women that they're in love with. They marry the woman who's there when they're ready to settle down.
Erroneous. I'm going to let that one slide. Right?
Don't let it slide. I meant what I said.
Yeah, you meant it, but you couldn't prove it if you tried. It's anecdotal.
Do you want me to? Do you want me to try? Do you want that smoke?
Vinky, you would have to have the ability to quantify and read the minds of every person. I'll just give it a year, right? I would give it a year. You would have to be able to do something that no one else can do, which is read the true inner thoughts of every person. But, you know,
I'll do you one better because I'm a god. There's a study. You want to read it with me?
No, here's the thing. Your study has not been verified by cross-data reference. That is one.
You want to bet?
No, Davinci.
It's even been replicated.
Let's be intellectually honest. It's suggestive at best, but I'm going to let it slide. Here's the thing. I want to deal with this article in this Nigerian king. This I got love for the Nigerians. So here's the thing. Here's the thing, right?
Somebody watch out for that lightning.
You got to make your outside voice your inside voice, right? And while I understand the intent of what this failed poet was trying to say, and what this person was trying to say is that I accept you as you are. You don't need to be perfect. But what it read as, because I'm trained to understand these things. I'm not looking at this from an emotional place. And I'm not saying that you're looking at it from an emotional place. I'm reading it and I'm saying that this should never have been said out loud. Like many things that women say out loud, but I don't hold it to a gender or a sex. I look at it as poor decision making by a person or an individual. But this is interesting in and itself. You said that he was a life coach. You don't really need an credit to declare yourself a life coach. You can just say I'm a life coach because I have the experience to share, right? Look at Steve Harvey, another black king. You don't need any of that stuff, right? This is just a fool that made a statement trying to say that his woman is not perfect. Now, let me ask you a question, and I'm going to need you guys and ladies to be honest about something. Does your partner have to be perfect?
For me.
Okay, so we're talking about the literal definition of the word, right? Perfect, or are we talking about
the literal definition of the word?
Okay,
but
so
perfect for me.
That's the exact opposite.
What he's professing with this statement is that, like, I get what he meant too, but he's saying that he settled. Like, yeah. He's like, oh, you may not be the prettiest woman and everything like that. When I'm with the nigga, I'm like, bro, you can't tell me that nigga ain't the prettiest nigga you've ever seen. He could have an extra tooth growing out of his nose, but if that's my nigga, that he's handsome. I love that tooth. We shine that tooth together.
But that's subjective, right? And this is the problem when we start redefining words in an emotive state. When you say that a person is perfect for you, that's really not a real thing. They are the correct person for you based off of your standards, and that's okay. Now, and I want to make sure that everyone hears me. I've said that he should have kept this to himself. This beautiful poem written by this Nigerian king should have been his inside thought. You don't need to share everything that you think on the internet, because for me, Mrs. Holdup is the correct woman for me. I did not settle for her. She is my soulmate, right? She is perfectly imperfect, right? After damn near 9 years of marriage, I can be honest about that. But for all you non-married people out here still living with your Sex and the City projections of what relationships are, if you can't get to a place where you can acknowledge that your partner has character defects and you do as well, then you should stay off the fucking internet as well. Because then you're going to have people believing some fucking perfect positive energy bullshit about marriage, and that's why the divorce rate is so high. So let your Uncle Steve school you a little bit here.
Steve.
What this moron was trying to say is you don't need to be perfect. I love you as you are. But again, you got to keep this shit off the internet. But y'all just went full tilt on this poor Nigerian.
That's not, if he wanted to say that, he would have said that. When you write out
niggas not stupid. They're not.
You write out an essay, like your first sentence, like that's your topic sentence.
Wait.
Like,
I want to challenge you two Nubian queens. You two Nubian queens to something.
You stop patronizing me right now.
You goddesses, you queen culture. I want to challenge this shit right now, right? Would either one of you be willing to embrace an exercise of radical honesty?
Every time you say that, like, please.
Would either one of you be willing?
Don't believe what I have to say anyway when you say that.
I'm listening to you. It's not about what I believe. It's about what's on the record.
Remember when I asked you blue or red and you were like, well, what are you aiming for? Do you remember that?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Because and you asked for radical honesty, and I said, and you asked me 3 times.
Well, yeah, because DaVinci, let's not pretend as if though, right? You and Beck, let's not pretend as if though, and I'll air you out right now.
Oh God.
You guys are playing a game of chess called the Sister Code, right? And you don't want to admit that you're playing it, but you don't have to admit something for it to be true. So that's why I said radical honesty. Would you be willing to admit that is the part of you that is dealing with your own internal bias that's reading this?
No. Because that's
you're not going to gaslight us on this one, Steve.
I don't have to gaslight anyone. You agreeing with me is not a prerequisite of me being right. But would you?
You're not though, so I don't think we're having that issue. So
no. Just trust me. Just trust me on this one. So neither one of you is reading this.
Man, never.
There it is, right there. You just proved my point.
It was my attempt at a joke. Shut up! Oh my God.
You just proved my point. So you're not reading this with any implicit bias at all.
I'm reading what I'm reading.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to put that out there for the audience that these two beautiful black queens that I call my sisters they are just white. They are so white clean on any psychic trauma that they've ever experienced in their life, and not one point of this is triggering. They are approaching this as if fully formed newborn adults, as if manifested from the ground. Sensi, what are your thoughts on what this Nigerian god had to say?
Oh Lord. I guess my first thoughts is a question. Are we mad? Or well, I guess I should address the ladies. Are we mad at what this reads as, starting with the first sentence? Or are we mad because what we think he was trying to say is exactly how this reads?
I'm sorry. Reword for me, please.
Okay, so when you first started talking with Steve earlier about this, you said you didn't like the way it read or what he was saying in words, but you understood what he was trying to say. So if you understand what he was trying to say, then you're clearly biased because you know what he meant to say. You're mad at how it came out of his mouth.
Yes, I'm mad at how it came out of his mouth.
Okay, because my point is you could literally you're not going to cause a riptide in the middle with the goddamn horn. If you literally remove 3 sentences out of this whole post, it actually makes a whole lot of sense.
It would still be appalling.
No, it would still be bullshit.
I feel like, okay, so let's look at the first sentence. You are not the most beautiful woman. Let's just remove that part out of the equation. If he never said you are not the most beautiful, I'm going to take DaVinci's example, for example. Before the man with the extra tooth growing out of his nose became your man, Was he the most beautiful man in the world to you?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I see where you're going with this, Cincy, but this is what I've been trying to tell you, my brother. This is what I'm trying to tell you. You're coming up against the wall. Even in the comments, someone said I was about to point out the gaslighting. I don't need to gaslight anyone. This is not about gaslighting. It's about getting people to look at their own implicit bias. I already acknowledged that. I was like, I would not have said this out loud, right? I would not, even though I understand what he was trying to say. But we've assigned something to this, or I'm not going to say we because I'm not riding the beef. I'm not doing time with you. You've assigned a lot of intent to this as well. And I get it because it sounds stupid. But the assumption is that this man looks down on his woman.
Yes, and he's using her as a fucking placeholder until he finds what he really wants. And it's given that I'm jealous of my fiance because why have you not mentioned your flaws? What about your flaws?
Wait.
Okay. We finally here. We finally here.
Because I've said this like a couple of times. Men are not stupid. They're not stupid. And a lot of women try to be like, oh, men are just stupid. Oh, men just don't know better. Like there are tons of pages on TikTok and Facebook and everything like that talking about, oh, like, look, I sent my daughter over to my husband's house or my ex-husband's house and look how he dressed her. Oh, didn't he try? And that's that weaponized incompetence. But that's not even what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that man's not stupid. He's not. He knew how that would be received. He knew, like when he wrote it down, you can't tell me that he didn't know how like that would be heard by people. You know? Like, cause you just can't. You can't convince me. Like in your heart of hearts, you believe that he wrote that and he read it and he was just like, yeah, no, this doesn't carry any negative connotation at all. Like I've seen this same post like multiple times where a nigga would be like, she may not be the baddest, but she is the realest. And like I think that's because a lot of people, and controversial statement coming in hot, but a lot of people, or a lot of men particularly, want their homies to sign off on the person that they're with so that they can feel like that nigga. And like last week I said, like a lot of men, and I sent you, Steve, I sent you multiple
you sent me a lot of stuff and I'm
yes,
working.
I did. Yes, I did. And I hope you read it. I hope you watched it.
And if I was your therapist, I'll say this,
but you're not.
Because here's what I'm saying, right? So let me first allow me to shoot another shot, and then I'll take the response. Is he not entitled to his subjective truth?
Get the fuck out of my face. You're canceled.
His truth is relevant as anyone else, since we're just doling out realities nowadays.
You're canceled.
That's the
banishing you.
I cast thee out. All I'm saying is I agree with Cincy. We changed some words in here. Again, this is moronic. I would not have said this. I would not have put this up in the post. And I don't disagree that men aren't stupid, but to blanket it as if though this man's insidious attempt or his intent was to subjugate and demoralize his woman, you're going to have to keep that same energy when other things present themselves, because in actuality, if it's left up to interpretation, very poorly worded, the Nigerian king here was simply saying what you said, which is you are perfect for me. I don't need you to be perfect. You can't quantify that the person you're with is the most beautiful person. In fact, if we're going to go literal, and that's a standard that you both appeal to, he's saying that's a faux reality. There's no way he could prove that his woman is the most beautiful woman on the earth, but she's the right woman for him.
Next time I post a nigga, I'm gonna be like, your hairline may be receding, but you're the most amazing nigga I've ever met, and we'll circle back to this.
And you could do that. You could literally do that, right? You could literally do that.
That's mean, nigga. Like, it's mean. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you that's mean. It's mean. What he said was mean.
See, but this is go ahead, Cincy. I see you got a cannon locked in.
No, I'm not saying a cannon. I just feel like we need some clarity. We need a final decision, because are men stupid or are they not? Because when, some guy wants to fall off the ladder, or when he wants to go tubing with his buddies down the river and then breaks both his legs doing some stupid shit on a boat, women clearly go to, that's why men die earlier, because they're stupid. So let's clear that up. He might actually be stupid and thought that this sounded way better than it actually did. Like, I'm not going to rule that out of the table, that he wrote this and thought this shit was beautiful.
Right.
But while we're talking about that, just self-plug, IG, Cincy Star. If you need anything written for you, I write very beautiful poems, fellas, for the replay and that are in the chat. You want to write some shit like that, just hit me up. I will write you something way better than this.
Oh, yeah. I can never pronounce that, Pokey, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. So, this is all I'm saying, and I'm not discounting your feelings. We're just having a great conversation here. So, was this moronic? Yes, I agree. This is not something I would state out loud. This is a private conversation. In fact, if I would have wrote something like this, I would have just highlighted the things I really enjoy about Mrs. Holdup, the things that I cherish. But again, it tugs at the situation that we have going on here, and the clear divide between men and women, even when men aren't expressing that type of intent. How can you distinguish between the two if you assume that all are doing the same thing? Because you would roast me if I said to you that I believe that inherently, because a few women behave a certain way, that this is indicative of all women, even though I could probably make an argument that the behavior itself is a common trait between most women. Like, if I said to you that every woman today behaved like Glorilla, that would be an erroneous statement, right?
How Glorilla get into this?
Right, he always bringing her up.
No, don't deflect. If I said that every woman was ratchet and looking for an opportunity to upgrade, you would say something in response, which is like, no, that's your feels. You just insecure, correct?
Oh, no, I would finally say that you got your man with Micah Ward.
No. See, you're still deflecting. You're still deflecting. You see what you're doing there? That's the girl code. You see how you can't answer the question? This is why the great Kevin Samuels died of a heart attack.
You know what? Canceled again.
No, but you see what I'm saying? Like, can you be intellectually honest in that? If I made that statement, you would say, I'm getting hurt boy vibes, I'm getting red pill, I'm getting incel vibes, correct?
Very much.
All right. So would it be appropriate if I said to you that I'm getting damaged queen vibes when the first assumption is that this man's intent was to belittle his woman?
You're really not gonna go ahead, Bex. I'll go after you.
Okay, so why would you say that though?
Exactly. Why would you say what you said? What basis do you have to say? That's what I'm saying.
What do you mean? Why did I say what I said? Because I read that stupid ass letter. That's why I said what I said.
Yeah, but that's your interpretation of the intent, right?
Also, because there's a system of this kind of behavior, like the
system.
Which is why I was asking, like, why
and it's so prevalent.
The system is prevalent only when it comes to the masculine gender, right? There is no system.
You cannot deny. And also, like, please don't act like it's a male versus female thing, because I think that the women who accept this kind of treatment are like just as bad as like I'm not gonna say just as bad as the men who dole out this, you know what? Yeah, just as bad as the men who dole out this kind of, like, you contribute to like the bar being set so low because women can't expect better, like, because you condone this kind of treatment. And so people or men see that this is acceptable, or somebody will bite at this, so I can continue to act this way. And so, like, if this young lady stays with this young man despite being like, you know, it's what I feel like is disrespectful. If she doesn't feel like this is disrespectful, that's on her. But like, I think that it's disrespectful to not speak about your spouse, like you, or like your fiance, and in a glowing term, or in a glowing way, unless you're trying to like talk to somebody about issues that you have in your relationship. Like, why on earth are you posting for the whole world to see that you don't think that your fiance is beautiful?
Hey, DaVinci, it's showing
No,
again.
shut up. I don't want to hear anything from you.
No. I want to refer to our episode about your dating habits. It's showing again. Your traditionalist views are showing again.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with it. I just want to, if I'm socialist service, Steve, I want you to know you stepped in it right now, and you are traditional DaVinci, and you are more than
What
welcome.
is traditional about that?
It is a very traditional view that you should say nothing but glowing things about your fiance, whereas the postmodern view is you should say what's in your heart. You should speak your truth.
Mm-hmm.
Am I not right?
You are. I hate admitting it though.
It's all right. Bex, why you taking shots at this Nigerian man? You ain't marrying him. What do you care?
Because he's stupid. Like,
He's not stupid.
He's not stupid, but this was a stupid thing to do, and I feel like he knows that. I went digging on his page because I wanted what the fuck was going on with him. And when he met his fiance, like, she told him that, she was a scientist and stuff, and like he like made up like some questions to quiz her with because he didn't like believe her, or it's like some really stupid shit like that. And I don't know, like, he was going, when people were telling him like, okay, like, this ain't it, fam, you need to take this shit down. And he's like, well, yeah, I professed my love this way and I did it this way and it didn't go viral and nobody said anything positive about it. But when I say this, now you guys want to, say something about it. Like I said, he's not dumb. He knew what he was doing.
Also, addressing something that was in the comments, men and women don't think differently. They're socialized differently. So we wouldn't have any way of knowing whether or not women and men think differently because we're socialized differently. If we were socialized the same, who's to say whether or not we would or wouldn't think the same? You know what I mean?
Another thing, if he was trying to reassure her, if they had this conversation before in private, and he was trying to reassure her, why are you doing it publicly? Why couldn't you do that in private? Like, you had that conversation in private.
Exactly. It's like twerking at a gas station. Why don't you do that in private?
Like, where is your emotional intelligence? This is not giving I'm emotionally intelligent.
Well, it's definitely not giving I'm a life coach.
Well, I will say the responses from this one, he came back out and said he's not apologizing for saying it, and the woman came out and said, well, essentially, if I say he's not the most handsome man in the world publicly, we're even, right? So at the end of the day, there's somebody for everybody, and just because he's not for you two elegant women doesn't mean he's not for this goofy broad.
I said that. I said at the end of the day, they're probably still going to get married.
And that's a shame.
A shame. What if they live together until the day they die, happy children, no dysfunction in the home, generating all the generational black wealth any couple could dream of? I'd say that's a win.
I'm going to joke
you. Smartest for me, like, not the smartest. This woman is a fucking scientist, and she's not the smartest woman. Okay,
it's giving very much negging, and like, I understand that there aren't very many studies that I can pull from and be like, see, like, this is a pattern of behavior because of the socialization of men. Like, there are a couple that I can pull from, but like, there, and this is going to sound very like biased for and subjective from me as a person, but me, along with 98% of the women that I've spoken with, have had relationships or been in interactions where they've been negged, and or negging was a part of the relationship. So it's like, I know that you're too good for me, but if I bring you down a peg, you won't think that you're good enough for anybody else, and so you'll stay with me type deal. Like, I understand that, like, this isn't something that I can definitively prove and in this case or not, but like, women, it's like dog whistling. You understand the language, or you understand it when you hear it, because it's so prevalent in society. It perpetuates nearly not perpetuates, it permeates nearly every conversation that you're in. When somebody says something about your eyes, or when someone says something about your lips, like, you hear the language. It's a dog whistle. And if it hasn't been used on you, like, you're probably not going to hear it. You're not going to catch it. But I do. And so does Bex, because we're women, and this is something that has been used on us, like, for most, if not all, of our lives. We recognize the language.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, and I'm glad that there was a lot of accountability in regards to interpretation and personal experience, because you would also be willing to admit that when you've gone through a traumatic thing and the trauma is not dealt with, right, then everything sounds like negging. And I'm not discounting that this is stupidity, but negging is a very intentional form of language used. And if you don't know what that is, it's when you like put your woman down, and it's done in a way that's not even subconscious, right? It's like, it is subversive, though, I will say that. But you at least you admit to that you're looking at this from the lens solely of being a woman that has gone through this. And I'm just saying, we have to leave room to say that this might not be that until that woman says that. This is your experience dictating that it could potentially be that.
Right. And all the calling cards are there. Like, look at it. She is accomplished. She is smart. She is beautiful. And these are big things about her. Like, we haven't even been told if she has like a large personality, or if people are regularly attracted to her, and that he finds that hard to cope with sometimes. These are things that we haven't even been introduced to in their situation. But one of the first things that he thought to publish about this intelligent, smart, accomplished young woman is that she may not be the prettiest. This is a calling card. This is something like, I understand what you're saying about the unresolved trauma and everything like that, but like, even with that, like, I feel like I'm healed enough in my journey to be able to recognize when something is them doing something wrong versus maybe I'm just projecting it. I think that I do that in a lot of our conversations. Like, last conversation that we had, I was just like, I can't tell if I'm angry because I'm a hit dog hollering, or because you've actually said something that's correct. And because I can ask myself those questions, usually a lot of the times I can work through that. In this situation, all the calling cards are there.
But that's why I gave you the credit. And it's not singular towards you. It's not about your therapeutic journey, right? Or your healing process. It's just that, this is idiotic, and I leave room for the stupidity. Now, I do want to acknowledge that there are people out there are men out there and women who use a language to subvert and subjugate the people that they are with, and we definitely got to call it out. I just think that this young Nigerian black god at that, said some dumb shit. He really said some dumb shit. Now, if he's verbally abusing this woman, I hope that, I don't know how it works with the God, little G, pantheon, like how to punish him. I wouldn't know. And like, I have a big G. But I'm just saying, this is stupid. Yo, my man, what's your name? Solomon Bucci? You need to hit Cincy up. Get some game, man. Get some game. Let Cincy write all the letters to your wife from now on. Right? Exactly. Wait, hold on. Let me rethink that. No, yeah, let Cincy write all the letters to your wife. Bex, this was your topic. any shots you want to fire at the Nigerian before you go? I know you got the 12 gauge loaded up for him.
I said what I said.
Bex, have you ever put a man down before to make him stay with you? Have you ever jokingly said something that was not true about a man that you were dating and you were just like, I know this ain't true, but I'm gonna say it anyway? Have you ever exhibited any behavior like that before? My mic working? I am a man with a mic.
It's
Man
working.
with the bike award.
If she's thinking that hard, Steve, I think it's a safe assumption.
No, you were breaking up. I didn't hear you. What did you say?
I said, Bex, have you ever in your past ever said anything that was not true about a man to him to either hurt him, control him, or jokingly or otherwise?
To hurt him, yes. When we're having an argument, yeah, I've been known to take some low blows. I can admit to that.
All right. We should consistent. Look, that's all I got. I'm not defending this guy. I'm just saying, I had to.
Private, like that's in private. That's some private shit.
Did you tell your girlfriends about it?
No.
Bex, radical honesty. That's what we're practicing right now, Bex.
No, I'm saying no because what girlfriends? I don't have any friends, so no.
What, you don't have any friends? What do we eat? Chopped liver?
Female friends.
What is Da Vinci?
Yeah, what am I? Chopped liver? Are we not friends?
Except for Da Vinci. Like, this was a past experience. So yeah, no.
Damn, I feel excluded now. I thought we were niggas. Damn.
And like this was like a whole public profession, and it was just stupid.
Go ahead, sis.
Well, the one I guess I don't want to say great thing, but the one thing about them being in a public relationship is that sooner or later, if this was with malintent, I'm sure people that are familiar with the both of them will come out and say something or present the receipts of why he was, like you guys said, doing this for a reason.
Now that it's public, the whole fucking world is going to be keeping an eye on them. So.
Well, no, I'm not talking about keeping an eye on them. I'm talking about people that actually already know them, like like that may have seen this behavior before and are going to call him out on it now that he's done it publicly.
Yeah.
That was annoying. Oh my goodness.
What was annoying? What happened?
That whole situation, like and maybe I'm just a hit dog, maybe I'm hollering, and like I'm completely willing to admit that, but like in these situations I find myself more upset with the women sometimes, and I know that might be like internalized misogyny just like leaking over from my very intense upbringing, but it just like you recognize the language, or at least I recognize the language, and like I feel like she should recognize the language, and I feel like upset that she would accept that. Like I feel upset with most women who I hear that upset thing or accept things like, have you ever had like a friend and you tell her like, hey, yo, your nigga slid in my DMs and now I'm coming to you as a woman type deal? And they're like, oh, he would never do that. You're just jealous and da 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 da. And I'm just like, girl, I got screenshots. I wouldn't come without the receipts. Like I get really upset with those women because like why is it so important to you? Like why is it so integral to you like right now to have somebody who doesn't respect you? And they will never respect you. Like that's something that I get upset about with like the pick-me's. Like no matter how you belittle yourself for them, like you will never be one of them. Like they will never consider you as anything other than a stepping stone to personal development. And so in that regard, I get really upset with them. And like, I'm not even going to bring in like the homemakers, because like they live the life that they want to live, and I respect that, but a lot of them get stepped on as well too, especially with this like new 50-50 culture coming in. So you're telling me, homegirl, that you're willing to do like 90% of the domestic labor as well as 50% of the financial labor? Like, you know, you're getting scammed, girly. And you'll stand there and then be like, oh, well, you're just mad that you don't have a man. A man isn't integral to my identity as a person. I just get really upset about it.
You made a valid point. Shameless plug and promotion here about you will never be one of them, which is why there will be a panel coming out on Conversations That Matter regarding coons, right? We got to deal with that coon energy in the Black community and thugs. And we're going to be talking about that very thing that you described. You can coon it up, or you can be a conservative as much as you want, but you'll never be more than a speaker box for people with more insidious beliefs. And I can't wait to roll that out. That's going to be DJ Cincy Star and myself and the OG, the Crippin' Christian, Alvin, my guy. We're going to have that conversation. I hope you all tune in for that. We're at the 1 hour 50 mark here. I feel like we should let the owner proprietor of Dope Dynamics lead us and close us out and promote all the great shit he's got going on.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys, Steve, DaVinci, Bex, as always, for coming through, having great conversation with me. Shout out to everybody that came out tonight in the chat. We have a bunch of people that came through that, you know, like aren't typically here. We have not a lot of our normal people are here, but you know, we're doing good. So I love that. I appreciate all you guys. Check me out. I'm starting a new venture, basically with music and writing and whatnot. And you can find me on IG, DJ Cincy Star, or on BeatStars. You know, I'm selling there as well now too. We got Request Box Live on tomorrow night. I'm gonna actually shout this out too. We are doing music from your own city, your favorite music, regardless of genre, from your own city, neighborhood, whatever, tomorrow on Request Box. And then Friday, what I'm most excited about in a long time, the rebranding of Friday nights. And I won't even say the name of what it used to be, but it's being rebranded on Friday. Foo Fridays. It's not official yet, but that's my name for it right now.
We throw it out the hard ass acronyms. Yo, for real, thank you for shouting out. And DaVinci, thank you for promoting in your server. And thank you for everyone that came through. Bex, my sister, shout out to you for this fire topic. I knew this was going to be a good one, a good conversation point. And yeah, man, I have fun. I love y'all, you heathen motherfuckers. I love y'all. Now, if y'all don't mind, me and Cynthia are gonna go argue about Egyptology and veracity of Christianity for about 2 hours while DaVinci and God, you shut up. Y'all enjoy this Cincy Star original while we get the hell out of here. Another Dope Dynamics. I want to play the other one that you made, my brother, which is fire. Good night, y'all.